Welcome everyone. We are about 4 minutes out from 2, so we'll get started here in a couple of minutes, waiting for a couple more people to log on, but thank you for joining me. Can't wait to get started here. Hey everyone, thanks for joining today. We're a couple of minutes away from 2 o'clock. If you can let me know in the chat box if you can hear me okay. Awesome, thank you. Thank you, Deanna. Thank you, Bill. Thanks for joining, guys. Guys and gals, apologies. Thank you to Bridget for letting me know. I hope everyone's Tuesday is going well today. Here in Lakeland, it's starting to feel kind of cool. We had some really good weather the last week, where in the mornings it was nice and cool, and in the night at night around 6 or 7 o'clock, we'd have a nice little wind come in. Probably gets down to about 70 degrees here right now, so perfect weather for us Floridians. But I've been seeing around the country, it's been getting real cold elsewhere. We saw that big storm. Where's everyone tuning in with us today? Oh, hey, Amy. Lakeland, Florida. That's awesome. New Hampshire, Texas. Wow, that's awesome. Thanks everybody for joining today. North Creek, New York. Wow, is it getting cold up there yet? I feel like I thought I saw that it was getting pretty chilly up there, huh? Oh, yeah. 40s it's a little cold for us Floridians. We have that thin blood. All right. Well, it is 2 o'clock, so we're gonna go ahead. Yeah, Lakeland has had a nice little breeze today. So it is 2 o'clock. We're gonna go ahead and get started here. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another Qgiv webinar. I'm really happy that you guys can join me today. We are talking about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, which is donor data. And for those that are data nerds like myself, I hope you're as excited as I am to dive into all things donor data. And for those who shuddered a bit and had some chills go up your spine when I mentioned that, don't worry. We have a really great presentation today and some actionable tips that are really easy for your organization to implement. But before we begin, For those that are unfamiliar with Qgiv, we are an online fundraising platform. We have solutions for all size nonprofits, including year-round fundraising tools, text giving, peer-to-peer fundraising, and silent auction tools. You are at the center of everything that we do, and our goal is to make fundraising as easy as possible so you can raise more money online. A few house notes before we begin today. We will be recording the webinar, and we'll send you a copy after the webinar is complete today. Feel free to ask any questions that you have. Please use the chat box for any general discussion that you may have, and there's also a Q&A option that is right next to the chat box. I would suggest that you use that for any specific questions that you have of me. I will cover all of those at the end of the Q&A section at the end of the presentation. And if you have a Twitter, please share your highlights and takeaways with hashtag QGiveWebinar, and make sure to follow us at Qgiv. So a little bit about myself. My name is Justin Cook. I am the product marketing manager here at Qgiv. I've been here 3 years now, which is really crazy to me considering how long that I have actually lived in Lakeland itself. Digital marketing and optimizing the user journey are my areas of expertise, so you just know that I love diving into data. I love how all of that affects our organization here at Qgiv, and I love looking at all of it. So really excited about this topic today. I do enjoy volunteering. I volunteer at a couple of places here in Lakeland. One of my passions here. And I do have 5 animals. I have a bit of a zoo. I have 3 dogs and 2 cats. I love all of them to death. And thankfully, I can do my webinars from work now, because when we're at home, it's a little chaotic when all of them decided to join me at the same time when I was doing my webinars. So why focus on donor data? We're going to start off by discussing why. And besides the obvious benefits of tracking fundraising success, donor data offers a wealth of information for your nonprofit. And using this information, you can do lots of things. You can segment your donor communications, you can improve your campaign messaging, and you can even find potential donors when you do all of that digging. So let's start. Why is donor data important? And the first and foremost is the obvious. You can monitor the performance of your fundraising campaigns and events. And again, I know this is obvious, but donor data will ultimately show you if a campaign or event was successful or not. And it can give you some very valuable insight into why, which will help you make better fundraising decisions with strategies backed by data. It doesn't matter if your campaign succeeds or if it fails, donor data is there to tell you why. And you can use this data to improve your future campaigns. Important questions that you're going to be asking are, did this campaign message work? Did it resonate with my current audience? Did I drive new attendees, or did I only drive in past attendees as well? So some of those things that you can look into with donor data to understand exactly how well your messaging is resonating with your donor base. Did I send my appeals through the appropriate channels? Was I reaching to my donors in the appropriate channels that they want to be reached? And who is my target audience, right? So all of these are important questions to ask yourself and to answer when you're looking at your donor data. And finally, you can use this data to improve your fundraising relationships with your donors. And how? Well, personalized communications, again, sending appeals through the right channels, and making sure donors are informed about the ongoings of their gifts as well. All very important things for your organization to use to build that relationship with your donors. And here I really want to point out the image here is very important, and because this is what unorganized data looks like. It's just a big mess. It has lots of pieces that can be used to build something special and to help your organization raise more. But you have to get there, right? You have to organize all of this data into something that makes sense to you and to the rest of the people at your organization. Because donor data will tell you a story. Without proper representation, like we said, it's just a giant mess, and it's really confusing. So I don't blame a lot of people on the call if you got those chills or you've had some type of PTSD after the last time that you looked into your donor data and your reports and your dashboards, right? It's because I can understand. It's a lot of information that can be really hard to understand. But when you sort through your data and arrange it, you gain these basic insights into your donors and determine the success of your campaigns and your fundraising events as well. Ultimately, though, our goal is to properly present our data and tell the story. Data without a story is just data, but tying in all aspects of your campaign and event will help you understand, organize, and use this data to effectively improve every aspect of your organization. So what are we going to be talking today? We're going to talk about all aspects of donor data and how your organization can use this information to improve your fundraising campaigns and events. We'll cover what donor data you need to look at, how to use this data to improve your fundraising campaigns, tools to track and collect this information, and then we'll take a look at what Qgiv's data tools can do for you. So let's start. So what data do you need to look at? What's the most important? The most important data, and the data you should already be looking at, is pretty obvious, right? Total amount raised, total donations, and total donors or event attendees tied to your campaigns. This is all great information to determine how your campaigns and events performed. A simple tip here, break down your reports by week or month to see how you perform better during certain times of the years, or you can see if a specific campaign message boosted totals. If you pushed out a specific appeal on Facebook, you'll want to look and see how that appeal did and how that message resonated with that audience. Same thing with your email appeals and things like that. When you break it down into those weekly or monthly breakdowns, you can see basically, that whole time frame, and you can even pinpoint down to specific messaging that you used through specific channels as well. You can dive a little bit deeper by looking at how many new donors and attendees you gained and how many recurring donors and recurring attendees. These are great reports to determine if your campaign messages are resonating with new audiences and or with your current donor base. Another great tip here, if you are segmenting your messages to new versus recurring donors and returning attendees, this data is a great way to determine how those appeals are performing. So you can also dig a little bit deeper into looking into how different like social media or email direct appeals that you send to, you can dig deeper into all of this information to determine how the new donors or your returning donors are affecting not only your overall fundraising campaign, but also your events and ultimately helping your organization raise more. And finally, if you have any restrictions on your donation forms, you can see which restriction donors prefer, right? This is always a big thing too. Where do donors want to give to your organization? And donor data is a great way to show you what that looks like. So some deeper data, right? So if you want to take your fundraising to the next level, this is the data that you should be looking at, and you need to. This is what takes you to the next level with these advanced statistics. So at risk or lapsed donors, these are donors. These are donors that have stopped or they may have stopped. So at risk, they might be going to stop, or lapsed donors which have stopped donating to your organization. So you can build reports to monitor these types of donors, so at risk and lapsed, and you can send targeted appeals to them, to these individuals, and hopefully keep them, or if they have lapsed, to win them back. So very important data to look at. Another thing to keep driving fundraising success at your organization. Another big thing to monitor are your donor retention rates. These are important to show if you're retaining donors year over year. It's much cheaper to keep a donor than it is to acquire a new donor, and we've discussed this in previous webinars as well. If retention rates are low, then your organization should start a retention program to increase that retention. Another simple tip here: retention rates are a great indicator of how your campaign messaging is resonating with your current donor base. If retention rates are decreasing, find out why and adjust, right? Going back to what we were talking about before, these are all the types of reports that you should be looking at to understand how donors are interacting with your organization. And if you can tie back to some of the different changes that you may have made year over year to your donation forms or to your events or to the different type of messaging that you're sending out. Always important to understand and monitoring your retention rates to make sure that the audience that you're appealing to, your messages are resonating with them. So donor churn rate. So churn rate is a calculation to determine how many donors were lost over a period of time. So it's a great way to determine if a specific message lost you donors or gained you donors. This is a very useful data to determine whether a particular campaign or event led to a decrease in your total donors Similar to the retention rate tip here, monitor your churn rate to see how well your campaigns and events are resonating with your current donor base. And finally, do you know how many donors you have in each of these donor levels, small, mid-level, and major? Great data to show how your donors prefer to give. Pro tip, take a look at your different donor levels year over year. Monitor any increases or decreases in each of those categories. Donors in the small to mid-level ranges may have the capacity to give more. So it's on you to really dig into that data to identify who would have the ability to give more to your organization. And if you did end up losing a major donor, find out why and see if you can get them back. And donor data is a very important way of helping you understand and finding that different information within your platform yourself. So how can we use this data to improve our overall fundraising for our events and our campaigns? So first and foremost, you can use donor data to track changes and compare performance. If you're adding or removing fields, images, or text to your donation forms or your event registration forms, you need to have a way to monitor how those changes affect your form performance. And the most important factor here is to determine whether or not those changes had a positive or a negative impact on the total amount raised, on new donors, on returning donors. Did it increase your recurring giving? All of those are very important things to monitor when you do make changes to your donation forms. Some things that you need to look at, that you can look at and should be able to do within your platform now, is compare your forms and events year over year. So did an event last year do better than an event this year? You can then look into that data and see what you did differently. Did you go through a specific channel? Did you send out a specific campaign appeal? Things like that. So your main goal here is to monitor if there was an increase or a decrease in the performance of your campaigns year over year and determine why. And then also you can A/B test. So if you want to see if if changing something in your form leads to an increase or decrease in total donations or total conversion rates or one-time conversion rates versus recurring giving conversion rates, A/B testing is a great way to do this. And we'll take a little bit of a deeper dive into what you can do with A/B testing with Qgiv itself as well and give you a good example. You can also improve your fundraising appeals. So I love the topic of segmentation and personalization, because not being recognized for previous actions that I've taken can be so frustrating, right? And your donors feel the same way. Add personalization and segmentation to your appeals and send them out to different types of donors, so they know that you are paying attention and recognizing their support of your organization. And you can use donor data to improve the effectiveness of these fundraising appeals. So you can send targeted appeals to one-time donors versus recurring donors, right? We've talked about that a bit on some of our other webinars as well. Making sure that when you're sending out specific appeals to recurring donors, that you're not sending a new appeal to them, right? You're telling them, hey, thank you for giving to our organization. Would you be interested in increasing the amount that you're giving to our organization or increasing the frequency that you're giving to our organization? Things like that. That type of segmentation is very important. And that rolls into past event attendees and new event attendees, right? So if someone has already attended one of your events last year, it's important to recognize that they did that, right? Thank you for participating in our event last year. Some of those minor details goes a long way with your donors. Another thing too is with your peer-to-peer events, if you've hosted one of those, making sure to call out some of your fundraisers or supporters that you had last year as well. So if someone was able to participate in the fundraising efforts and they raised funds on behalf of your organization, calling that out is also very important in an appeal, because it takes a lot of their time too to fundraise. So it could feel a little bit like they're unrecognized for their achievements that they've helped with you last year, right? So very important, segment your different communications to your donors. Continuing this story, another great use of donor data is to target your audiences based on their demographic and their preferred giving channel. So how does your donor base prefer to give? What campaign messages resonate with each generational group? How often do each of these segment give, right? A very great report that we have here at Qgiv called the Generational Giving Report which was produced by our great Abby Jarvis, who we love here. We'll dive into we did a very large study on how donors prefer to give. And ultimately determined what each generation of donors prefers to give and which channel they prefer to give as well. So great study to look at. I'll include that in our follow-up email as well. And knowing this information on how your donors prefer to give, you can improve how you send your appeals, the best time to ask for another donation, or even ask for recurring donors to upgrade their gift. You can use donor data to identify, again, where your donors prefer to give, which messages are resonating well. If you have a specific Giving Tuesday campaign message coming up this year, always important to monitor those, right? And how often they give to your organization. And use this data to determine when the best time is to ask and which channel is the best for those donations. Next, you can grow your relationships with your donors. And it's a very important step to increasing those donor retention rates that we were talking about and reducing donor churn rates. And it's really easy when you use your donor data appropriately. So for example, we're talking about adding personalization. It's a great way, and add personalization to your email appeals if you're sending out some type of company news, and add them to your receipts. A very great example here is this example where today you've made a difference, Quincy Givens. That is a great way to add some personalization to your receipts, and you can also do that with current donors in your donor base by adding that little personalization when you're sending out email appeals. You can also send out donor summaries for tax purposes, so donors don't have to dig for all of the receipts from your organization. Give them an easy way to track down this information so that they don't have to go and spend a lot of their time finding out how much they gave to your organization. And if you collect phone numbers, use this data to call donors to thank them for their gift. Phone calls offer the opportunity for your organization also to discuss with the donor all the great things that are ongoing at your organization. And you may even get another donation out of it. So always a great use case for your different data. So what else can you do? Donor data is a wealth of knowledge. Like I said, there's a ton of information in there, and just knowing the most important information to look at is very critical and help you improve your campaigns as well. But you can do a lot of other things in there as well. You can look and identify current major donors, and then look for potential major donors as well. Like we said earlier, you can identify and reach out to any lapsed donors that have stopped giving to your organization. And you can also identify and engage at-risk donors. For example, if someone's been giving a recurring gift to your organization and their credit card is coming up to be expired, right? That's an at-risk because that transaction is not going to go through, the donation is not going to go into your organization. So a report to look into that is a great way, and engaging them to let them know, hey, that's coming up, and asking them to update the card on file that they have to continue giving to your organization. So tools to track and collect this different type of information. So what are the best tools, and how do you store this information, right? So first and foremost, you have fundraising tools, such as Qgiv itself. We collect the high-level data for your organization. We'll be able to monitor the performance of fundraising campaigns and events, collect donor information through the different donation forms and event registration forms that you set up. You'll be able to track new donors, recurring donors, at-risk donors, and lapsed donors as well. And we even have the ability to help you calculate donor lifetime value and acquisition costs as well. You also can use, in your fundraising ecosphere, a customer relationship management tool, or for short, CRM. This adds extra management abilities for your contacts. So for example, a CRM would help you manage all aspects of your ecosystem, including your donors, your volunteers, your sponsors, your grantees, and more. You can collect and add detailed information to donor records. So if you end up calling your donors and asking when their birthday is, their date of birth, you can age, gender, things like that. Like you can add all of that information into your CRM to get really detailed profiles on the people that are giving to your organization. And depending on the CRM, there's other features that they have included in there. They have donor timelines to tell you when that individual has given to your organization and when, and how as well. They can help you with giving summaries too. And some of them have engagement scores as well to help you identify when the best time is to reach out to those donors, and how often they are engaging with your organization and the different things that you have going on. And there's many other tools as well. The three that I like to highlight are Google Analytics. So Google Analytics will help your organization track where people are coming to your website and giving to your organization. You can even set up different types of goal conversions within analytics to track how many donations are coming from a specific channel, such as social media or Google search or things like that. Very important to understand how people are getting to your website and giving to your organization. And you can do all that through Google Analytics. Social media, obviously, a lot of organizations are on social media, and all the different social media platforms all have their own tracking mechanism. If you are using social ads, they all have their own tracking. So always important to monitor how those are going. And Google Search Console. So Google Search Console is Google's way of letting your organization know how donors are finding your website on Google search. So this isn't the paid advertising side. This is just someone goes to Google and they type in whatever the name of your organization, such as Qgiv for us. And Google Search Console will tell you what people are looking at to find your organization, how many times someone has viewed your organic listing on Google search, and how many times people actually click through. So it's really great information to look into to improve some of the searchability of your organization's website on Google. Google is the dominant search engine in the space, followed by Bing and a couple of other small ones as well. So Qgiv's data tools. So what can you get with Qgiv? So Qgiv, we have a lot of pre-built reports, and our simple reports will give you a bird's eye view of all of your activity, such as the transaction activities that we were discussing before, recurring payments. We do have a report specifically set up in here for new, at-risk, and lapsed donors as well, so you can monitor those. Donations and event registrations. You can even save custom reports and then access and run these custom reports at any time. So a lot of information already pre-built. So you don't have to build these reports. These are already available within your Qgiv dashboard. And we do have custom report options as well. So if you wanted to pull a specific report for event registrations processed today, or new donors from last week, donors who gave last year but haven't given this year, you can set up these complex filters and then actually save these reports so that you can save time later when you want to look at these types of reports as well. So using this data, you can understand your donors' patterns, behaviors, and the recent activity that they've had with your organization. You can use this data to plan for last-minute event registrants, target outreach to brand new donors, individually reach and engage those at-risk donors, ask recurring donors to renew their gift, update recent donors on campaign activity, and re-engage lapsed donors or clean out your CRM if they haven't engaged with your organization. So a lot of this data is very useful to your organization, and a lot of those are already built within Qgiv already. But again, if you need certain information, you can always build a custom report and save that out so that you can save time later when you run that report. If you have a Qgiv account and you've been using us for a year, you can choose Advanced Statistics from the org level dashboard menu to get a high-level overview of your advanced stats. And you can run reports like number of new donors, number of lapsed or at-risk donors again, donor retention and churn rates. This is where we'll help you with the donor lifetime value, number of one-time versus recurring donors, donation amount, segment performance. This is all great information for your organization, and this is the deeper type of stuff that we're talking about. This is what can help you take your fundraising to the next level. Very important here, these advanced statistics are a year out just because it does take time to collect all of that information and to process it into something usable for your organization. And how can you use these advanced statistics? So identify what attracts most new donors. Again, a certain campaign message or a specific appeal that you send out, or through what channel. You can begin outreach for those lapsed donors. You can make informed decisions around donor retention efforts and communication strategies. So if you've implemented a donor retention strategy, this advanced statistics will help you understand how that is affecting your organization. And then also, again, calculate the lifetime value versus the donor acquisition cost. And as we discussed a little bit previously, it is much easier to retain a donor than it is to gain a new one. It's much more expensive to continuously gain new donors than it is to keep our one. So very important that you continue to focus on donor retention. You can create and send donor summaries. So if a donor asks you for a history around tax season, you can easily send them a donor summary. So simply hover over reporting in your dashboard and choose donor summary. Choose the names of donors or set the parameters of a group of donors if you're going to send these out to a group of people to whom you want to send it out to. And then you can use the interface to create emails to your donors, and they will receive the attached summary in it. You can also preview and send these summaries all through the same dashboard as well. Very helpful tool for your organization to understand, to help your donors understand, and then use this for their taxes. You'll also be able to import or process offline transactions. So we have a simple template within the Qgiv dashboard that allows you to upload batches of cash or check donations to your account. You can also take like in-person gifts or cash or card or check through our virtual terminal, which is really helpful when you need to take like an in-person donation, whether you're meeting a donor for coffee, which is a little hard nowadays, or you're in person at an event. If you want to take gifts on site at the event, or like someone just walks up to you and gives you a surprise donation, right? Which would be great. But you can do all of that through our mobile virtual terminal, which is a great, very useful for your organization. Once your offline donations and registrations are uploaded, they will be reflected in your campaign thermometers, your peer-to-peer thermometers, and your progress bars. If you're using our Fund Hub pages, which tracks all of this different information into a single place, then that will also update as well, and also reports. Form comparison tool. So when you're looking to compare your forms, as we were talking about before, if you're making a small change to your form to see how that affects the total donations given to your organization, the form comparison tool is very useful to monitor and see what those changes look like. So to compare your forms, all your organization needs to do is go to the main dashboard and choose Form Comparison Tool from the dropdown. You'll be able to compare campaigns year over year. You'll be able to compare performance of different forms. You'll be able to monitor the performance of your A/B tests, and you'll be able to learn what successful forms and events have in common as well. And using the form comparison tool, you can tell more of a story, right? If you send a fundraising appeal, for example, and want to track how a specific change makes a difference. So let's say we change the donation amount of one of ours on our donation form. We can see what that change does through the form comparison tool. For example, like if you want to send out an appeal, we change the donation amount. We can make that change and then split our send lists. So we have our donor base, we split it in group A and group B. We send them two different forms. We can compare the differences in the amount that is given between those two different forms. So a great way to monitor how those little changes can really affect your organization's fundraising overall. And one of the ways that I was talking about before is um, really understanding your donor preferences and when you compare your forms as well. So Mercy Ships did a really great A/B test. They sent they created different donation forms for different audiences, and then they sent them out through their appeals. They were able to monitor the differences of those different forms and eventually figure out what really worked for their audience. So they were able to experiment a lot of different things and quantify the success of their A/B tests. Another great thing that you can do here is experiment with different donation amounts. So we do have defaults in Qgiv for $25, $50, $100, and I think it goes up to $500 after that. But if you wanted to see how those different donation amounts affected the overall giving to your organization, you can do that. You can see what the best starting is. Is $25 the best? Or is maybe $20 or $15 the best? Is 500 the most effective? Testing that is a great way that you can do through Qgiv using the form comparison tool. And obviously we make it as easy as possible on you to make those little changes. Once you identify what works, it's really easy to apply it to your other forms and your event registration forms. And you can continue to tweak to see what works and figure out what your donors like the best. You can, when you are making these changes, you can make changes to the donation images, to the recurring giving features that you have. You can set up giving plans, anything that you want to experiment with. We can help you compare that data. With Qgiv as well, we have a ton of integrations to help you save time. So if you want to update your CRM with any donor updates or patterns in donation history, you're able to do that. You can do that automatically, or you can do that manually. Just depends on how your organization likes to run that data. You can track donors' involvement with events and other fundraising campaigns. And when you're integrated with your favorite fundraising email tool, you'll be able to export that list and make updates to different donor segments as well as you send out those appeals. Again, we have a ton of CRM integrations: Salesforce, Razor's Edge, Bloomerang, Donor Perfect. Those are all some of our big CRMs in the industry that we help integrate with. And again, you can run these syncs manually, or you can set them up to run automatically as well. Any email integrations that you're looking at. So if you want to send out targeted appeals to your different donor segments and track like open rates and retention rates, build stronger donor relationships, we have integrations with Constant Contact, Campaign Monitor, MailChimp, Klaviyo, and Emma. So great tools for your organization to use. And to help out your accounting department, pulling reports from our system is really easy. And it's really easy when you actually integrate Qgiv with our QuickBooks Online account. So super easy, helps your accounting department stay on top of things. And again, that's automatic as well. And if we didn't have any of those integrations that you currently use, then we have a custom integration with Zapier. You can connect your account to literally hundreds of other services that your nonprofit is already using. So always a great way to help your organization there. So most of the integrations, the advanced statistics, all of these things are included within our data package. So our data package has all of our standard fundraising features, which includes unlimited donation forms and event registration forms. And I'd like to emphasize unlimited here. You can build as many donation forms. You can build as many event registration forms as you want. There is literally no limit. I have not found it yet. And we will not charge you for building as many as you can. So great feature here at Qgiv. Included with the data package, you also have our CRM integrations, our email integrations. You'll be able to import offline donations and registrations, build and save those custom reports. You'll gain access to the advanced statistics. The donor summaries is also included within the data package and the form comparison tool as well. If you are a Qgiv client and you want to know how we can help you do anything that I mentioned here today, please email us at support.com and we'll get you in touch with your customer success manager. And if you're not currently using Qgiv and you want to learn more about our tools and how we can help you attract and retain recurring donors, we'd love to talk to you. Please just send us an email at contact@qgiv.com. And if you have any questions about best practices, then go over to the qgiv.com/blog. Check out all of our fundraising resources from the great team here at Qgiv. Any questions? Bill, I did see your comment in. The donor summary is great for sending massive amounts of emails and updates and the great way to send out. That's awesome. Glad to hear. Glad that you're finding a lot of use out of that. Do we have any questions about our data tools or any of the best practices that I covered here? I saw that Qgiv can do auctions in the slide. Can you talk a bit about it? Our auction tool is really great, and I really love it. So Qgiv's auctions tool is we help you set up your event. We have a very simple event builder for your organization to use. And we include both an app-based and a web-based bidding experience as well. So donors can choose based on their preference how they want to participate in your auction. We have a lot of great tools that come with that. So in terms of importing different auction items, we have a template to help you out. It's very simple to add in all of the information that you need and then to upload it and to kickstart your auction and get all of that information imported in there as well. But overall, the auctions platform is a very simple but very powerful fundraising tool. Like I said, we have a simple event builder. I don't if you've ever used one of the Qgiv products, such as our donation forms, our event registration forms, or our peer-to-peer events. You'll know that our builders are very simple. They're drag and drop. They're called what you see a WYSIWYG, which is essentially just what you see is what you get. So they are. It's really easy to build the event that you're looking for. In terms of the bidding experience, like I said, we have what's called the Qgiv app. So the Qgiv app offers a in-app experience for bidders that are comfortable with using apps and downloading that to their mobile device. It has a lot of great features. It's really easy. It's called a swipe to bid. So it makes it really simple for guests that are looking to participate to bid on any items that they would like. We have outbid notifications in there, which makes bidding really competitive. It'll alert the guests directly on their phone about the specific item that they've bid on, that they've been outbid on it, and then they can increase their bid. You can buy tickets, raffle tickets, drinks. You can put all of that into it specifically. And we also have other great features for our virtual events too, like live streaming your video for the whole event itself. You can embed that directly into your event forms as well. So I can have someone reach out to you and give you some more details and information on that, and I can also include that into the follow-up. A lot of great stuff for the auctions there. If you have any specific questions, you can probably go ahead and email me as well, and we can talk about that. Reading Heather's comment here, assuming that we don't. Yes, yes, Heather. So we will be able, if you are looking for a new CRM, we can help you out if you contact us at support.com. You can look into Zapier as well. There should be some type. You can probably set up the custom integration in there through there as well. If you are a current client, then yes, I would suggest reaching out to support. They can easily help you, give you some insight into the best way to integrate that, and they may even be able to give you some tips on integrating with Little Green Light through Zapier. Otherwise, if you are going to have to go with the new CRM, yeah, they can help you with that as well. Matt, he put here in the Q&A, highly recommend their Qgiv auction app. It's the best for the price we've used. That is really great to hear. Really happy that you found success with the Qgiv app. I know that we have. That's why we also included the web-based bidding experience as well. There's always some hesitation for guests downloading an app onto their phone, so I'm really glad that you found great use out of the Qgiv auction app. It's a really great tool. I know I'm talking it up here, but I really love the Qgiv app in terms of of all of the power that it offers and the competitive bidding features that it has on there. And sure, Bill, yeah, we'll make sure to notify you if any of that changes. Do we have any other questions? Awesome. Well, I'm glad to help out there, Deanne. Sure, Matt, you're welcome. Thanks everyone for joining us. I will be sending out that follow-up email with the presentation and the slides here. Be on the lookout for that either tomorrow morning or afternoon. And I hope everyone has a great day. Stay warm. I know it's getting cold in places. And happy fundraising, everyone.